Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the CyberGizmo, I'm going to give you a short video. I'm not sure how long this will actually be, but I'm going to go through some of the tools that I had started to talk about in Linux, like rkhunter. I'm going to talk about some of the other, one of the other rootkit tools. And then I'm going to talk about one that I use to actually check the hardening of the system overall once I've gotten it up and installed. So hopefully that will help you in the future on how to do some of these things. So let's get started with that right after this. So I'm going to start again, as always, with a full screen here. And the first one I'm going to look at is called chkrootkit. And on Fedora, it's DNF chkrootkit. Give it my sudo password. Maybe I should tell it what I want it to do, huh? Okay. It's going to tell me it's already installed. But to run this one, this tool is quick and easy and quick and dirty, but it's not my favorite. But I'm covering this because you know, it is available. It's usually pretty easy to install. All it does is you have to go through this line by line to see if you have any infections. There's really a couple of criticisms I have with this tool. One is I wish it would color code when it found an infection. And the second thing is it would give you a summary down here at the bottom of how many it did and what it did find, and then put it in a log file. So, but the other tool that is along these lines that I use is rkhunter, which is the one I used the other day when I was doing the Linux. That one you can find, it's out on a website, excuse me, a website called rkhunter.sourceforge.net. The most recent file is version 1.46. I think that's 2 years old now. I think that was released end of February or so of 2018. Yeah, so it's been around a while. But yeah, you can just download that. And it should start up. There it goes. And then I will go into my downloads folder. If I spell it right. And then I would do a tar. And then go into the directory itself. And you do have to be sudo to run this shell script. And then you just give it a command to install. You can also uninstall it from here. If you do a help, it'll show you what all of its commands are that you can do on the installer. But so you can, there's some examples. Their layout templates are for, if you know that this is a RPM build, a deb or Slackware or whatever, you can change that default. But it already knows this is Fedora, so it knows about Fedora. So yeah, so at this point, I would just simply do an install. Now I've already done this, so I'm not going to do this on my system, but that would then copy the files over and get them ready to go. At this point, the next step you would do here is you need to update the profiles or the signatures for the types of rootkits or the types of tests that it's going to conduct. So you'll need to run an update, and that will go out and check all of these things and then update it if there is anything needed. And the first time you do this, it'll probably do the update. So at this point, I'm ready to do an rkhunter. And I would do a check first, and then this command, the .sk or dash dash, or tac if you prefer. Dash dash is what I use. I started with Unix, remember, so sk skip, and that at the end of each section, rkhunter will pause and let you read the screen, or you can just say, I'll look at the log files and just skip through all this. So skip through the pauses, so it'll just run all the way through till the end. And then it starts to look at your system to see if you have any problems. Now, what it's looking for right here is there is a signature that it has for each of the executables on your system. If they do not match the signature, then you have a potential here that something has been modified. And then it starts to look for rootkits. A lot of these rootkits are Windows, but you have to remember that, Linux are servers, and people that are on Windows machines can install files on them too. And even though the rootkit won't run on Linux, Linux can become a vector to disseminate the rootkit to other Windows users. So it is a good idea to look for them here as well. There are rootkits that do affect Linux. Yes, most definitely. So the warnings that are going by are considered bad. those are considered bad things. But let's see what else it found. So let's see, we left off right here. So it went through the rootkits, and then it started to look for signatures within the files or directories that might indicate the presence of a rootkit. And then it looks through, do I have any backdoors? Are there any sniffer log files present? Again, these are all signatures and matches based on lists that they have compiled. So as you saw in my last video, that is where you could trip a false positive. So if those file names happen to be present on your system because your package installs legitimate ones, Rootkit is going to flag them as the Rootkit hunter is going to flag them, just like it did last time. So yeah, and then it's saying I have some large memory segments that are open. Yes, I do, because I am using OBS and I'm using some audio software. So yeah, there will be. Can't really do anything about those, but we can go check and see what it found. And then it's finding some suspicious files and some hidden files and directories that it's making. Now those would of course be files that begin with a dot, or a directory that began with a dot. So we can look at the actual log file itself and see what it actually found. Well, yeah, that's not a command, is it? Okay, so I'll do a warning. I'll look for a warning, which will take me down to the first warning. And so this one, it's saying, I don't know what this file is. I don't have a hash value for it. So go create one, and then everything will be fine. So yeah, I can't whitelist that because it doesn't. It's saying you got an executable in a libx exec that I don't have a signature for. That's all it's saying. And then here it's saying, hey, you've got an rkhunter.conf file that's different than the last time you ran this. And yes, I do, because I changed it. So I'll show you how to deal with this. You can update the properties file with new signatures. And and there's a way to do that. These are, again, I could whitelist these. I'm running OwnCloud and I'm running Reaper, which is my audio software. And then I've got these are the dev types that it's finding in dev. And yes, Jax creates dev, some semaphores, and so does Reaper, and so does Jack Control, and so does Freewheel. All of these are related to Jax. So I could whitelist everything that was in shared memory jack and get rid of all of those. And then it's saying, oh, I've got a whitelisted Etsy Java file, right? This one's whitelisted already, and that one's whitelisted. So it's just telling you, hey, you're not looking at these because you told me not to. And then it's finding some hidden files here. And then there's some whitelisted ones as well. So, and then of course at the end I'm done. So that's all there is to that. To update your properties, the signatures, you do a rkhunter prop update. Now don't do this unless you're absolutely sure you've checked. If it has findings for files that are in, your user sbin or user bin, make sure that they're newer than the last time you ran this, or sometimes on the distributions, they have been modifying some of these, like egreep and fgreep. Those aren't executables anymore. They're shell scripts, and rkhunter expects them to be executables. And so if it finds egreep and fgreep that are shell scripts, it will flag them, and you'll have to whitelist those. We'll talk about that. So I'm going to update my properties. And that error that it gets rid of should be, you can let it run down to the point where we get to the rkhunter comp file. That should fix that problem. It won't fix the others, but it'll fix that one. Also, if your system has updated and those have been replaced, any of these, you'll also get a trigger on those because the signature has changed, obviously. Yeah, so now it's okay. So I'm done with that. So let's go look at the, now where this file is may be different. If you install this from a package manager like apt, for example, it may put the rkhunter.com file under user local Etsy. So yeah, just be aware of that. I don't know why I keep leaving off the command today. All right, so I'm going to just kind of go down through this a little bit. It's a long file. There's good documentation on the website that describes all of the entries in here, but I'll just highlight a few of them as we get down to them. These are just if you want to move, where rkhunter has its libraries and its script directory, you can do that. If you have any additional locations for your binaries that you want it to check, you can add those in here. You can change your default language, where the log file is. Okay, so this is one of the first places that you could change. So one of the things it does is it looks at your SSH configuration for your server. So this would be the /Etsy/SSHD_config. And in there, it's going to look at how you have your options set up. And if it doesn't match what its profile should be, it'll flag and make suggestions and tell you to change it. However, if you need to have, I don't know why you would, but if you need root to log into your SSH, then you can say, oh, hey, I want to allow that. rkhunter, don't look for that. And you can change that allow to equal yes. I wouldn't advise doing that, but hey, it's your system. The other one is this one, which allows you to use the older protocol. Now, just be advised that if you turn on version 1, and by the way, that's default. So if you're running with no protocol set in your SSHD, you're running version 1, and that has been cracked. So it's pretty easy to decrypt a SSH1 protocol. And so that is, now here it says it's weaker and less secure. I would say it's insecure. But so that's if you, for some reason, again, you wanted to run version 1, and if it's because you're running compatibility with older systems, go upgrade your systems, for God's sake. And anyway, normally that setting, protocol should be equal, it should be set to 2, not equal, it's just protocol space 2. And it has to be a explicit entry in the SSHD config. So if you don't see that, put it in. Just saying, add protocol 2. Just saying. All right, let's go to whitelist. I'm just going to jump down here. These are findings that you want rkhunter to ignore. So like these are not executables, they're scripts now. And we can go check that in a minute, but that's what I'm getting around here, and that's why those are whitelisted. And there's whitelists all over this. If you have hidden directories that you need to, whitelist and say, those are fine, I have Java on the system. And if it finds hidden files, where it would show that list, I could add those here to that and allow those to be in there. Also, these are the proc files. So, and then there's the proc listen. If you have protocols that are running on the system that you need to allow that it flags, these are the dev files like the SHM. I could go in here and just say anything in that directory, just allow. That's probably not wise, but you could do that, and then so forth. So yeah, and it goes on. There's the IPC whitelist. And I did have one Xorg problem that I could whitelist out as well. But other than that, I think the best bet is if you find issues, go to the documentation that's on the website. So I'm not going to, I guess I'll just go ahead and save that. Now it's going to recalculate a new signature, and now if I ran this, it would fail. So that's number 2, the things that we want to run. Now, the last thing that we want to do, let me show you Linus. I have a video on this that I did on security tools. It's pretty old, though, and it was on an older version of Linus than the one that I'll be running today. But if you go to cisofy.com/Linus, this is one of their tools. I mean, if you're running Red Hat or CentOS, there are better tools that you can use, and I have a video on that. But if you're not, then you could run this if you just wanted to get an idea of how well your system was hardened. If you do compliance checking with this tool, I would recommend that you use the enterprise version of this, which of course costs. That's $3 a month per system. And they actually are accredited, I believe. They are actually accredited. So if you're in a HIPAA environment or some other security environment that has to be in compliance and has to have a tool that checks it, this is, except for government use in the U.S., this is not accepted. But yeah, they have their own. Anyway, but yeah, it has additional modules in it, so it will actually tell you whether your system is in compliance with HIPAA or not. But anyway, that's what we're going to look at. So. Let's go back out here, and where you would go is go to the download, and we can go to GitHub. It's usually where I go to get it, and then so I get the latest one. I'm just going to copy that. I have an older version of Linus here, so I'm just going to go ahead and purge it. Now, Linus does expect not only the directory to be owned by root, but also all of the files inside of it to be owned by root. So you have to run your get clone as sudo. And then we'll go ahead and copy in that IP address, or the URL, I should say. And then we'll run Linus. Now, I can just run it by itself, and it'll give me the options for it. So there's a number of ways that you can run this. A local security scan, you just do an audit system. You can audit systems remotely, provided, of course, they have Linus set up as well. And then it also can analyze Docker files, which is nice. And then you can do the usual, what version am I, how do I use this, blah, blah, blah. But there's some alternative auditing modes that you can turn on. I can do a forensics test. Now, that does require some additional setup. Pen testing, same thing. You can run a pen test on the system, but that takes additional tools as well. And then whether or not you want to substitute in a different profile, different colors, whatever you want to do here, or add plugins. And there are plugins on their site for the commercial version, not for the free one. So let's go ahead and do Linus audit system. And this will take a bit, so I'll be back when this is done. So one thing I didn't mention when I was on the GitHub page is you'll notice here that there are a number of compliance tests. Now I mentioned HIPAA, but there's also ISO 27001. There's also PCI DSS, which of course is the standard for commerce sites. And this is still going, and so I'll be back. Okay, so the version of Linus I'm using today is 3.00, and it tells you that right there. It'll also, the system will, now this is the command that I ran previously, but it'll actually detect the OS and the profile to make sure they match. And it'll give you the information list about how it's set up and how it's going to run. But it also checks to see whether or not your system is up to date. This requires an internet connection, obviously, in order for it to do that. And if there were a new update of the software, it would tell me. And it'd say, hey, you're using something that's out of date, go get the new one. Right. But then it's checking some boot services here. So each of these sections are the grouping of tests that it's going to run. So I think there's, I don't know how many tests there are. There's a lot, a lot. And then it starts to look at the kernel settings. This one, Fedora is a little tough to figure out whether or not you need to reboot or not, especially Fedora 31. Let's see. I have some issues here with my X2Go server. And so, it's suggesting that I go in and correct that. Warnings are bad. Suggestions are, these are okay, but you might want to go in and expire your passwords. And then there's some things here, some suggestions in the functions that it wants. It doesn't like the UMass that's currently set on bash RC and all of those, that's in those files. So it's suggesting that I go into each of these and change the default UMask. They prefer 027, so I'm just telling you that up front. This is a standard server configuration where and it's probably not a bad idea to have your home and temp and var even on a workstation set up that way because it's a lot easier. Now temp I do have set up already, but home and var don't pass. So at least on this machine. And it's telling me I have proc mount hide PD, and so there's a suggestion there. And then USB devices are enabled. Can't do anything about that. Firewire is disabled, not disabled, so it's telling me that I need to go and turn off all of these. And that's probably valid for this site. I don't have a toolkit on the system for automatic updates, and not going to happen. Normally in a server environment, you would set up for security updates to occur, right? You wouldn't want all of the updates to occur, throw you out of compliance. This is bad. This is really bad. It's saying one of my Ethernet devices is set up for promiscuous as far as Linus is concerned. But I'm running virtualization, can't do anything about it. Sorry. But anyway, yeah. And then it's got some suggestions down here to change the port number from 22 to something else. You know, I don't know why they think that's such a big deal, but 22 is well known. 22 is also pretty well known. So, yeah, you'd have to stick it way out someplace that you'd probably never find it again. I don't use remote logging. That's an rlog command. And so, yeah, I don't use any R. I don't care, Linus. You can complain all you want about that. There's no way in hell I'm putting that on. And then it checks if you have any dangerous apps, and these are all considered dangerous because you can inject code into the system. So over those, and it's saying, okay, yeah, you have all those two files do. That's the issue, is that is the banner that gets displayed when you log in, and so what they're looking for there is, do you have the keywords they're looking for in that log file? So if you just put the keywords in, and it would just be totally nonsense, but it would pass. I don't consider that a valid way of protecting your system, other than, I guess, for legal purposes, you can say, hey, I did put this warning on there, and they went in and they made modifications to the system. And in court, if they claim that they weren't informed that they were being monitored, they could have potentially a way to get out of the case. But that's the kind of thing you want in your issue, that, hey, we are monitoring everything you do, and by using the system, you accept us to monitor you. So anyway, that's the only valid reason for that, would be for legal issues. Sysstat I need to install. Yeah, maybe. I might do that. It's just this. It's telling me it's not found. It's going to flag it as a suggestion to install it. It's not because it's yellow. If it was red, then I've got some problems with my hardware ring and the ring D. So let's see. Also, my file permissions don't match what they expect it to be, and they have got, this is new in 3, where they started to look at the files that are in your systems and make sure that they are appropriately configured correctly for your permissions. So yeah, that's something to look at, yeah, definitely, because if someone could get into the cron, they could inject a application to run at a specific time. These are changes with this particular version that's new that I don't have in, where it's saying it's different. So I do have these others in, but I don't have those 3. I do have installed compilers on this, and the suggestion they use is just bizarre to me, but okay, whatever. So yeah, there's my promiscuous interface, and it's telling me it's a virtual one, which is created by VirtualBox. And let's see, disable core dump, yeah, because that reveals information about your system, your applications, and potential data. so yeah, if this is a system that is being run in production, it's accessible from the outside world, definitely do that. Expire, yeah, I saw that warning before. There's some UMasks that need to be set in those files, those 3 files that it had listed. And I have some kernel modules which are unused that I should be turning off. Okay, fair enough. And I need to install debsums on Fedora. I don't think so. I don't think that's going to work. More likely, it would be an RPM version of that software. And I don't know if they actually check for that, but this would be one that I would probably whitelist. IP tables. I don't run IP tables on this machine, but yep, if you should have a firewall on every one of your machines. I run something different than IP tables. This is there is a app server on this system, and it's suggesting that I do some additional hardening. There's the port number. I have some deleted files in use. It wants me to turn that on. Restrict file permissions. Yeah, we need to check into that. And then there was some differences it found in the system control. Right now, the system is at a hardening index out of 178, so it's 3/4 of the way hardened. Now, in a lot of production sites, this would be considered a fail because they want it as close to 100 as possible. But just remember, the closer you get to 100%, the more work you do. I mean, just like anything else, it's the last 20% that take 80% of the work and time. So yeah, we would be aware of that. If I was running the commercial version of this, the enterprise version, I would be able to set compliance and tell it I want to meet HIPAA or PCI DSS or whatever it is that I need to be able to make compliance with, and then it would tell me if I did or not. If it's a pass or fail, I think. Yeah, I think it's either you passed or you failed. And then which scan mode did I pick to run this in? We talked about that earlier. And if I want more details about this, I can do that. There's also ways, like let's say, I don't know what this means, but I want to find out about that test. But why? What was the problem here? And in here, I think it's at the bottom. It tells you show the details of a test. Do Linus show details and then put the test ID in. This is the test ID right here. So let's do that. It's just show, right? Show details. Okay. And hopefully I copied that. I thought I did. Nope, guess not. Oops. Okay, so it tells me I've got some temporary files here that need to be removed. Okay. This contains so you have to kind of look through this whole thing to get all of the key issues. Because a test does multiple things. As you can see here, I was trying to see where it was actually talking about permissions. Here we go. So it's telling me Etsy message of the day isn't got the expected, or maybe it does. Those are correct. Correct. So it tells you pass fail. So we've got a few of these that are okay. Directory exists, blah, blah, blah. Owned by that person. Okay. I'm looking for one that failed. And then there's the syscontrol check on all of those parameters. So it'll tell you which ones need to be changed and what the suggested value is. Although it already told me that on the listing. It says EXP, that's the expected value. So yeah, you can go through and find the actual results of the test that way. There's also an explanation of the tests. I have to get that. I got to go all the way back up here. Let's see. Right here. So if I want to know more about that test, now in the free version of this isn't really going to be too helpful because I really want you to spend $3 a month to get it. Come on now. Nope. Let's see, on the information on compilers. Now, if this was the paid version, it would actually give me an opportunity to fix it. And the software will fix it. But because I'm running the free version, I don't get it. I don't get that. I have to go do it myself. So it's saying, okay, so here's how to solve the problem. Here's some of the options you have. Here's some stuff you might want to read about so you know how to harden your compilers. First of all, here's my comment on that. If you're installing a system in a production environment, don't install compilers. And if you have to, remove them when you're done. I mean, if you go out there and you're just patching something, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. You should be going back and patching it on your development systems, going through your test environment, and then promoting to production. But if for some damn reason you've got to patch it on the production server, I don't know why you would ever do that. Make sure you remove the compiler when you're done. But anyway, some applications that run under Go or run under Python or run under PHP, they have to have the full compiler out there in order to, because it's a runtime. You have to have it out there to run. Now, Python you can compile, yes. But you probably will find parts of the system are still going to require the compiler to be there. Anyway, that's all I had today. Just those three was all I was going to cover. If there's, if there's something, a utility that you're interested in, and You know, if you know of one that you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments below. Always happy to do that. And again, as always, if you liked this video today, please like and subscribe. Hope to see you all again real soon. And as always, bye for now.